Well, in the book, you talked about the most hated black people in America. It started with O.J.
Yep.
Then it went to Obama.
Yep.
And now it's at...
It is at Colin Kaepernick.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Everyone hated O.J. because he got off with killing a white woman.
Right. And everybody hated Barack Obama because he was a reflection of the promise America had always held out. America said if you work hard, you could be anything you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And they hated him for it. Nobody works harder than poor people. You know what they get to be? There tomorrow. Colin Kaepernick led a violent protest, a peaceful protest against America and their injustice. And he is a pariah. Robert E. Lee led a violent one, and he gets statues. Have you ever noticed whenever somebody who didn't do it before does something different? Like the first black anything, the first woman anything, the first gay anything gets what? Death threats.
Crucified.
Not crucified. I threaten to kill you.
Right.
I don't care if it's hitting home runs. I don't care if it's landing on the moon.
Right.
I don't care if it's the first black person who went to a school. If you do something that breaks the paradigm of what I think is normal, I want you to die.
Right. I mean, they killed Martin Luther King.
Sure.
They killed Malcolm X.
Sure. So it ain't even that. How you gonna want to kill Hank Aaron? All he did was hit home runs. How you gonna want to kill a president? All he did was be a reflection of the very thing you said he should be. Be excellent. You got to die for following the rules.
Right. Well, you talked about in the book, you talked about Michelle Obama's statements about living in a house built by slaves.
Right. And Bill O'Reilly talked about how it wasn't built by slaves.
Right. Actually try to whitewash it, I guess.
Yeah. But didn't they always, they talked about, I remember last year, they said they found Sally Hemmings, who was Thomas Jefferson's lover. They found her apartment. No, you found her slave quarters. And she wasn't his lover. He wasn't her lover.
But she was raped.
She was raped over and over again. But that makes you feel better. Whether you like this or not, Thomas Jefferson is a rapist. And you have him on your money and your high schools and your bridges. Thomas Jefferson raped people.
Have you ever thought about, because I think about this sometimes. You have children. Even if you consider, if you hate your baby mother,
right.
If you figure she's beneath you, or
right.
whatever other evil thoughts you have towards this woman or her race or whatever else.
But if I got a baby from her, she probably was beneath me at some point, physically.
Okay.
So, or on top, or something. There was some way we connected.
But the baby comes out, and this baby is half you, whether you want to admit it or
right.
not. At what point do you kind of say, this whole concept of slavery and inferior races and everything else like that is kind of out the window because now I have this child that is half me? Like, you know what I'm saying? At what point does the parental instinct start
You're asking me something that is an interesting question, and I'll answer it this way. At the point where I believe I had sex with an anomaly, that I had sex with something that was beneath me. I go to Tijuana, they have a show where a lady has sex with a burro. Right. And that's about what you have to believe
Right.
the offspring of that.
Right, but
is human.
But the lady doesn't get pregnant afterwards. That's the big difference.
But at one point
you see what I'm saying? Now, if a half donkey child comes out, right, then you might look at that original donkey a little bit differently, right?
I think that you had to tell yourself a story that person was a little more than an animal. You had to. You couldn't believe if you wrote the rules and said this is chattel, my property, I don't have to respect it.
Right.
And so the offspring of that. The human part of you makes you go, I won't beat it as bad as I do the other people, or I'll put it in the house, because the human part of you does that. The part of your ear but the part of you that believes you're superior doesn't have a problem with it. The same thing that allows you to take something she don't want to give you, it's the same thing that allows the offspring of that to be okay.
You're in this 1600, 1700 situation where you have these slaves and you're being told that they're not as intelligent as you. They're not
True.
truly human. They can't read. They can't write, and so forth. But you spend time with them every day, and you start to realize that they're just humans just like you. Some of them are probably smarter than you. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Some of them are more clever than you
Right.
are, and so forth. At what point do you kind of say, all this is bullshit?
You can say whatever you want to
These
say.
are regular human beings just like me.
But the law and the rules that were written couldn't let you believe that. Listen,
But you start to question as a human being, though.
you as an individual human being,
Yeah.
not as a society.
Okay. I see
As
where
an
you're going with this.
individual human being, there were people who always bucked against slavery, who fought it. They lost every time in court.
Okay.
But
And of course, the North was, slavery was
even the
illegal.
North, that was, the problem with American history is that now we have Google. But I'll say this: any human being that believes that the way that they were born entitles them to a bigger segment of humanity than somebody else who was born in a different place is already so flawed. That most people that feel like that will never be reached. And most people that feel like that, who are never reached, are now populating this country.
I read an interesting passage in a book, and it said, it kind of gave me a new perspective on things. And it said, walk into a bank, okay? And if your loan officer, who you get, matched up with, is wearing a dark blue pinstripe suit, and as you're asking him financial questions, he answers them and so forth, and you have a certain level of respect and understanding for that person. Keep that in mind. Now, take the exact same situation and put that man in an orange suit. Would you take that man as seriously and take his advice as seriously as you would in the man in the dark blue suit? And most people will say probably not.
Right.
But it's just the color of a suit. It has absolutely no significance apart from society tells you that a dark blue suit is more serious than an orange suit.
But imagine if you couldn't change the suit.
You're stuck in that orange suit.
Imagine if it's your skin.
Right. And that's the analogy
Right.
to what I'm trying to say here.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Imagine you don't get to play by different rules. That I see you and that I already have an assessment of you before I know who you are. That is the game we play. And so, look, you saw the number. 50% of Americans believe that Donald Trump is a racist. Mm-hmm. So that means that the other 50 are bullshitters. Now, you could say he's a racist, but he works, or he's a racist, but he's doing what I want him to do. Don't pretend, because the other 50% are the worst kind of people. And I'll tell you why. Because they have to lie to themselves, like I had to do with my other situation, to make shit right. They got to lie.
Lie to themselves.
White men don't get to tell you who's racist. White women don't get to tell you who's racist.
Right, and you've talked about that, about how, I guess, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but essentially you're saying that black people can't be racist because they don't have the power to go along with their ideology.
Somebody called me racist. I'm like, when did I ever oppress you or deny you a loan or deny you right to vote? I make you uncomfortable. But so does gas. So does a cramp. A cramp ain't racist. Gas ain't racist. It makes you uncomfortable. I can't make a system up that denies you loans or humanity or makes sentencing harsher or makes police harsher. White folks being uncomfortable, they think that's racism. They ain't felt it yet. You can't know what that's like. I can't deny you humanity. I can't right now, my children can be slain in the streets and society would say, why didn't he or why didn't she? I can't do that. We're not the same because you made us not that way and you don't want us to be the same.